In the days and weeks after the Deepwater Horizon oil rig exploded, the Gulf waters around the rig turned black with oil. A fleet of skimming vessels was brought in from around the globe to try and remove the oil from the water. The blown-out well continued to pump crude into the Gulf, and oily sheens threatened the coastlines. As boats worked offshore to skim up all the oil they could to protect the Gulf beaches, efforts also got underway along Mobile Bay to protect its fragile shorelines. By early May, BP's Vessels of Opportunity program got into full swing as communities from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle scrambled to put out boom and secure their shores. By the end of the month, $4.5 million worth of pipe boom was stretched across Perdido Pass in Orange Beach. The city of Fairhope also took action.
Right now, our plan is to boom an area from the American Legion on the southern end out around the west end of the municipal pier, and then north of the Fairhope Yacht Club as a protective measure for our own waters.
In all, 6,500 vessels were deployed and approximately 2,500 miles of boom was laid to contain or absorb the oil. While most of the bays and inland waters in Alabama and Florida were spared the worst of it, by mid to late June, Gulf beaches across the coast were seeing heavy impacts. Then Florida Governor Charlie Crist came to Pensacola Beach to see it firsthand.
Something like that on such a beautiful place, it's unbelievable. It breaks your heart.
We've seen tar balls, in other parts of the state and here too before, but never this kind of stuff.
BP mobilized approximately 48,000 workers along the coast to clean up the oily mess, mostly by hand. One of those areas was the Gulf Islands National Seashore at Fort Pickens. Then BP COO Doug Suttles made an appearance at the park to see how his crews and park officials were working together to have minimal impact on the park's wildlife.
I think probably the most important thing I've seen is a lot of teamwork between the cleanup crews and the Park Service to make sure that we don't create any harm while we're trying to get this oil picked up.
Nearly 92,000 tons of oily solids were removed from the Gulf Coast beaches, but it was the offshore oil that had the deadliest effect on wildlife. Over 2,000 birds, along with almost 20 turtles and several mammals, were found dead and visibly oiled. Over a dozen animal rehabilitation centers were set up along the coast where thousands of birds and sea turtles were cared for and released. By October, deep cleaning the sands began, and those efforts on Alabama beaches wrapped up in early March. BP's new COO, Mike Utzler, says their crews will stay close at hand.
To ensure that there is ongoing maintenance and monitoring, that there is a ready call out of equipment and people in the event that there's an episodic situation after a storm in which we need to mobilize quickly.
A scenario none of us hope will be needed. Reporting on the Gulf Coast, Hal Sherrick, Fox 10 News.